Hey, welcome to the introduction to the Polkadot Ambassador Program. And with us today we have Lucy and Don Diego Sanchez, Global Program Directors of the Polkadot Ambassador Program. And we have Sean, who is a member of the Technical Fellowship, right? So, yeah.
And the Polkadot Ambassador Fellowship.
Right.
That's you.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so let's just start off. Lucy, can you give us a little bit of an introduction of what is the Ambassador Program? And we're going to take it from there.
Okay, so Ambassador Fellowship. Right into the camera. Fellowship. Its inception came from the 5 years of ambassador programs that had come before, of which I wasn't a part. I've been in Polkadot for 3 years, but only sort of on the ground in the community for the last year. But I was part of the most recent program as a head ambassador, and the fellowship is it's been an exploration of everything that's come before, what we've done right, what we've done wrong. Sean in the summer kind of synthesized all of this, put his thoughts out there, and then Don Diego and I kind of took all of that, everything we'd heard, put it into a manifesto, and we're trying to build something scalable and resilient that will take all of those things that we've learned and push them towards a community that's really going to last for Polkadot and for Web3 in general.
All right, thank you, Lucy. Don Diego, can you add a little bit, like how has the process been so far? What's the current status?
Yeah, thank you. It's an interesting process because we're discovering what we need to do as we're doing it. Like, actually, no one has done what we're trying to do until now. I don't believe nowhere in the Web3 space to create that kind of it's a peer-reviewed reputation system supported by an ancient logic, with the idea of creating the proper social construct in order to empower the body of agents. So it's a really nice and shiny definition, but actually I don't really know more than you what it means. And so I guess that's the current state of the fellowship. We seeded 160 ambassadors, and alongside the fellowship, you also have that Frame Initiative Fund system that is supposed to provide monthly allowance to agents in the most easiest way possible, in order to relieve them from the pressure to face OpenGov and to just be efficient and impactful for the ecosystem. So we have those two main things going on, and now it's about building forward and listening to the community, to what makes sense, and to continue the work of executing the vision that is in the manifesto, basically.
All right, thank you. So, Sean, you're a very interesting guest in this conversation because the Ambassador Program started really hot. There was a lot of conversation, and let's say a lot of thought going into how to construct a new program. And you contributed a lot of thought and ideas on how to go about this. So I would like to hear, what were the ideas that you contributed, and sort of how did you work to influence and shape this and contribute with your ideas?
Yeah. I think what was really interesting, for me at least, was if you had asked me to invent the program from scratch, I probably wouldn't have any of the answers or any of the ideas I came up with. A lot of what I thought of was just observing things I didn't like. You don't know that you don't like it until you see it, right? And the things I didn't like was I didn't like that the program started at the top. It had a default payment with no real assumption, and that you had to be at the top to get that payment. It was just a combination of things. My perspective in terms of how you build reputation, how you build decentralized systems, I think is very much ground up. We want to see people who are at the bottom who have shown evidence for a reason to be at the top, not because they made one forum post and they got voted by whales and some anonymous accounts weren't even real. Like we want to make sure that people actually show through time and effort that they deserve to earn the respect and earn the title that they had, right? And I think some of us have been in the space for a long time, and yeah, absolutely, we can use that previous time to bootstrap our reputation. And then, of course, I was thinking, why do we have to make it so that people who are at the top are the ones also getting paid? Like, one of the things I didn't like was, as a developer, I'm probably never going to have time to be a full-time, fellow or ambassador. But I still think I deserve a rank at a higher level. But I can't get that rank unless I get paid. I can't get paid unless I do work. Like, it's not the right system. We should have a system where you earn reputation, you get to the top because of what you've done. And if you want to continue to work, you get paid for the work you've done and the value you've created. And so I wanted to separate the systems because people can also create value at lower ranks as well, right? You can be a brand new person into Polkadot, but you could be the CEO of Microsoft, right? And it is perfectly acceptable for someone like that who makes a great deal to bring a lot of value to Polkadot, gets good payment, but we all recognize that he's still a new ambassador to the system. So it was just an observation of the things I didn't like, the things I expected it to be, and I think it just turned into that. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you, Sean.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's dive into it a little bit, and let's start with an ambassador. What is an ambassador? What makes up an ambassador? Can I be an ambassador? Can everyone be an ambassador? Let's start with this.
Yes, so anybody can be an ambassador. So that is the primary vision and mission of the manifesto. Obviously, as Don Diego said, we are learning as we are going. This started, we actually got off the ground, went through the root ref, got some initial funding, and we kicked off on the 13th of Jan. So we're still learning kind of what good looks like at each rank, but we're still very much committed to anybody being able to be an ambassador, with the gateway to entry being opening a wallet, verifying your identity, locking one dot. And then our real focus is then how do we convert those people into people that really want to do things for Polkadot. So it's about retention more than just how many people can we get through the doors. We want it to be open to everybody, but not just... You want it to be like a members club that anybody can get into, but you can only really get through the door if you really want to. You really believe in that club and what's inside. So yeah, the answer is anybody here can be. We have ranks uncoupled from salaries for that reason. We provide titles that work in the real world. We provide a platform of legitimacy so that, and I quote, because I said this on Space Monkeys and it got laughs from everyone, that I called myself a Polkadot floater. Before I was, because for a year, that's what I was. I just kind of hung around in the ecosystem, taking meetings, meeting people, doing stuff, but I didn't have a title. I didn't have a salary either, but I do now, thanks to this system. So for the first time, we can have agents actually being paid for just working for Polkadot, not for Parachain or Web3 Foundation or Parity, which is pretty groundbreaking. So yes, and anybody can be an ambassador no matter what's kind of going on in their life. If you have a baby or you take a new job, you work somewhere else, and you don't have the time to contribute like you were, we're not going to kick you out. As long as your sort of beliefs and your want to be part of this community and push what we're trying to do forward, then you'll always have a home here.
All right, thank you. I'm going to add to the question, and I'm going to let you both answer, but we will start with you. What does an ambassador do? How does their daily life look like, or what is their contribution to Polkadot?
I'm returning you the question. So that's the interesting part of that. Polkadot rely on independent individuals and group of individuals that are called agents, and that are tackling the issues of Polkadot through OpenGov. And let's say that it's a pretty cryptic system with some very specific codes. And let's say that all of that is only like barely 2 years old. So Polkadot rely on that hive mind of agents that need to understand what is their purpose in order to be beneficial for Polkadot. And I believe that it's a very personal journey everyone's become an agent in its own way. It's really personal. But that being said, it doesn't prevent us from providing support to those guys. So an agent is just, or an ambassador is just someone that want to be involved in Polkadot, that believe in Polkadot, that want to help. And I'd say that the main purpose of the fellowship is to provide support for that. And whether, like Lucy was saying, you have 5 hours to give to Polkadot a week or a month, or you have 10 hours per day to give to Polkadot, it's still something where people are pretty lonely. And that's one of the purposes of the fellowship, to try to create that feeling of belongings, that feeling of community, and to try to identify and solve the main issue that those people are facing today. And those people are the future of Polkadot. So if we don't care for them, we won't have enough human capital to care for Polkadot. So the answer is, there is no answer to your question. And all I can say is that the fellowship will try to allow as much agent as possible with as much different profile as possible to be able to be meaningful for Polkadot and opening up.
And I think that Don Diego's answer answers another question, which is what we both kind of bring to the table when what we're doing. I think Sean brought this idea and everyone's voices to the table. We've run with it. And Don Diego is fantastic at thinking about this wider picture, this huge vision for Polkadot and everybody in it. And I'm much more just by nature the kind of practical organizational one. So I will tell you what I think different agents could be doing, like in terms of the practicalities. So it's a question particularly at the lower ranks. We have 3 tiers. Ranks 1 and 2 is listening, learning, and understanding, and that's really all we want and expect for those people. And some people just want to stay at rank 1 or 2 because rank 3 and 4 is active engagement. So it's more going out in the community, but whether it be BD, whether it be tech dev, whatever it is. So it's finding your niche. And what we're doing at the moment with these 3 months is both trying to do the strategic vision and really taking people on the journey that we've created, particularly at the higher ranks. And this is one of Don Diego's favorite phrases, the asymmetry of information. We're trying to solve for that for the higher ranks because it's a real frustration. When you're doing business and you're building things, you'll find that 3 or 4 people are building the same thing as you, but you just don't know about it. So that's a big focus. But then for the lower ranks, these are people that just want to feel that they often want to feel part of something and they want more direction on what they can do. So that's where this 10,000 meetups a month, call to action. Jay always told me to look in the camera. 10,000 meetups a month, big ass goal, but that's something we're going to be trying to go for. These very small pop-ups, get 10 people together, buy some chicken wings, cost $5 a head, just get people talking, get people returning. We're putting on a PBA X course, which is a Polkadot Blockchain Academy, that we're going to do at a lower level for everybody that comes in. We've got a rewards and recognition. We want to take everybody through a onboarding process so that you have mentorship, you know where to go for education, you know where to go for funding, you know how to navigate your way through OpenGov. So we're trying to do it all, which is it's difficult, but there's the practical things you can do, and then there's this wider vision and journey that we're trying to take people on.
Good. I think these are good examples. And so let's take you, Sean, as an example. Yeah. You consider yourself an ambassador.
I hope so.
So what is the work that you are doing? Can you tell us a little bit about your rank and maybe what you feel is the expectation or what your contribution is?
Sure. Well, I think we should go back to the start of the idea. We want ambassadors because we want Polkadot to be successful and we want value to be brought to Polkadot. And I think ambassadors, if we had to summarize exactly what they do, they bring value to Polkadot. And how they do that can be different, right? Everyone has their own skill set, and that's super exciting. And Polkadot has a lot of different needs. I do consider myself an ambassador. As of recent, I think a lot of what I've been trying to do is, one, create a clear vision mission statement for what Polkadot is doing. I think it's incredibly difficult in this current era of blockchain to really find the signal from the noise. I think there's so many people who've kind of lost sight of the original Web3 vision, and I just want to make sure that you know what when I say Web3, that you are also understanding my version, my meaning of it, right? So that kind of stuff. And then of course, my role inside of Parity and Polkadot was to design the palettes for the different runtime systems. And so I basically was paid to make these kinds of interesting game theory games, right? And so a lot of what I do in terms of feedback with the treasury and the fellowship and all that kind of stuff is describe how I would design the game to get the right outcomes. So whenever you design a game, you have to make the assumption that none of the players they're all acting in their own self-interest, right? They're all kind of greedy players. So you have to make a set of rules where acting greedy results in a net benefit for everyone, right? And so things like, for example, reporting when someone is using money improperly, right? But then getting a reward for that. So you're trying to make money, but you can do that by calling out bad things happening inside the ecosystem, right? So it's a little thing like you kind of assume in a normal system, you would just say, hey, this person's doing something bad, that's it. But if you add that incentive, you actually now create kind of a more resilient game theory game where you don't have to assume all actors are just doing things for the good. And I think the same thing with this ambassadorship. Like, we're not asking you, I think, to go out and spend your time and your own money for nothing. We want you to use your energy, but then show us the value you generated, show us the evidence of the value you've created, and let us pay you for that effort. We want, in the best case, that we succeed along with you, right? And so, yeah, as an ambassador, I'm just trying to share my ideas and create value and talk about things and give my input. And I think the most important thing is, as with this fellowship, I kind of took a step back in terms of exactly how it was built, but I definitely took time to explain my ideas, and it seems like a lot of them resonated, and a lot of them also kind of shifted to ways that you understood better they would work for the system, right? So, I mean, I hope that was valuable. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I can only speak to that.
Yeah, it was like I want to give my opinion on Sean's impact on the program. So, first is he, like you said, you started to identify the cracks in the former one, and they were quite obvious, but it did help signal the body of elected ambassador, that there was probably something not really well going on with that. Mm-hmm. And it was the first thing he did as an ambassador for me, mm-hmm. and try to point away somehow. Mm-hmm. And then he has been really useful during the ideation process, mm-hmm. to guide us and to like you said, support us with the proper ethos and the proper understanding of what was supposed to be meant on the technical layer. And I guess that we took it from there, like you said, to understand what kind of social dynamics could live upon those on-chain logics. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of our main role now and that's why we're not dev with Lucy, because the fellowship we're building is for people. And we have to understand how people will be able to interact with the ground ideas that are behind Sean's work, And I think that form of, us, user of Polkadot, taking in charge the work of the devs and making it something that is actually suited for how the body of agent is right now. I think that was a missing piece in Polkadot, and I hope that we'll be able to bring that missing piece to the body of agents.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that this idea of adding value to the overall system is typically when you see that a person is guided by that idea, they find something actually useful to do in the system.
Exactly.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so we started talking a little bit about compensation. So let's go to the fragment thing. And maybe, Don Diego, do you want to start by explaining what it is? Yeah. And then we go to some of the current projects that are ongoing?
So, when we were in the ideation phase, it was pretty clear, like you said, that connecting ranks to salaries was not an idea that the community could live with. Mm-hmm. And I kind of agree. It's too soon, like we need to transform the trust into trust. And but we we also identified that providing agents with the proper resources to be impactful was one of the main objectives of coordinating all of that and empowering all of that. So Sean suggested that we use the fragment selection system, which is the system used to select the former council of OpenGov1, and somehow something very similar to how we're selecting validators. And the idea was to provide a new way to allow the token holders to support some initiatives, some agents, some group of agents, or some communities. It's really in theory open to anything, and it's ideally attracting creativity and originality and new ideas, from people that were maybe a bit afraid of OpenGov, or the fact that the idea was a bit original. So, maybe you don't want to face the body of holders telling you that stupid shit, So that was the original idea behind the Fragment Initiative Fund, is to allow people to candidate with initiatives that were supposed to have impact, and to design a system that will actually allow the holders to effectively and efficiently make a proper selection. And one of the main concepts behind Fragment is that any holders can support any initiative, any dot can support only one initiative, and you cannot say no. You cannot nay on Fragment. You can only support what you feel is the most impactful thing. And we believe that it was creating a new dynamics in OpenGov, and maybe it was the door. It was opening the door to, people that were feeling less confident with facing OpenGov, and that in the end it was something that was really making sense with the fellowship. So on one side you have that reputation system, and that could enable some like dynamic leadership and liquid hierarchy and things like that, to coordinate the ecosystem. And on the other side, an easiest funding solution to allow agents to be more impactful quickly, basically. So that's the overall idea of Fragment. And maybe Lucy, you want to talk about the initiatives?
Can I add one small thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to mention that the Fragment thing, again, the base Polkadot, anyone with an address can get paid. You can make a direct call to Treasury, no matter if you're in the fellowship or not. You create your own fellowship or whatever you do, you can get paid. That's one of the key features. Fragment was just here to create a more standard process and simplify the payments. Like if you expect to do work of an equal value month to month, it's kind of like an employee, that you can actually skip all of the drama-fueled, OpenGov stuff and just get it. But I want to clarify this: that you can be an ambassador, you can not be in the Fragment system, you can still get paid for your work. You just bring evidence to OpenGov, and they will make sure that you get paid. Okay.
So everyone can get paid. Come to Polkadot. So the Fragment system, as I said earlier, and it was beautifully explained by Don Diego there, because it is a pretty complex, kind of sort of technical thing, but it's one of the cornerstones of what we're doing here as well. Even though it's independent, it's pretty groundbreaking, allowing that upfront payment. So we're super proud that some of our Fragment initiatives are paying ecosystem agents for the first time just to work for Polkadot. We've got James Slusher, who is paid to be a Polkadot ambassador and do his thing, BD events, etc. in Florida. We have Strin Bergman, who is doing BD and is being paid for that. Josiah in Australia doing the same thing, so that's really cool. We had 44 applications. People could ask for up to $10,000 a month for a 3-month period, because we're mimicking the system at the moment while we look at building it. And so we had 13 applications. We had a handful of solo agents. We funded some communities projects, so Africa, LATAM, Brazil. We've funded quite a cool community project where some of our Eastern European communities have come together to try and do a sort of a blitz of the political systems in their various countries. So Poland, Czech, Hungary, which is super cool. We've got some dev projects as well. We've got one in Hong Kong, which is actually a sort of Cardano project. So it's a Cardano Polkadot cross project, which is awesome. And then we've got a fantastic lady from the Philippines called Shelley May, who is a live gaming streamer who'd never done anything for Polkadot before, found out about the fellowship through all of our work and Twitter and everything. We fund her. She's working with .play as well. We've got a guy who works for a number of Polkadot projects, Connor, but he's also super passionate about education. He's based in London. He grew up in a South London school, and he said, like, if he was a kid now and he saw like fart coin and like shit coin, whatever, he'd be like, oh yeah, man, that sounds great. Like, lose all his money, and that would be his introduction to crypto. And like, that's not cool, and that's not how we're going to get people. So he has designed a curriculum for 14 to 18-year-olds in London, and he's now made partnerships with, I think, 10 schools, and he's going to be rolling out workshops across the next 6 weeks. And this is something that could really take hold, you know, and it's really freaking awesome. And considering that Chrissy Hill, who's also one of our Rank 4 ambassadors, and the Chief Legal Officer of Parity, I don't know how she does it, but she and Pauline have just designed a PBA course for politicians, policymakers. So you combine that with a curriculum that's being built for secondary school students, and that's pretty explosive. And these are just some. I feel like I'm at a wedding or an awards giving out speech. I've forgotten so many people, but they're all brilliant. Do you want to mention?
Like in the end, we received 44 applications. We, the board, not us, but the organization behind the fellowship, choose 13 of them. So I think you maybe you forgot Polkadot Italia.
Yeah.
And the thing about Polkadot, the Hungary DAO.
Yeah.
They are the one, and actually I want to talk about that because this is really cool. They reproduced what happened in the Visegrad 4. Maybe you're aware of that as an Austrian. No, because it's close to you.
Visegrad 4?
Yeah. So, yeah, maybe I'm not pronouncing that properly, but it's super cool. So, back in the day, I guess Hungary, Czechia, I believe Poland, and another country over there, they formed some kind of what? Slovakia, and they formed some kind of alliance that is still going on today. And so the 4 community of Polkadot reproduced the same thing to kind of bootstrap their collaboration and to act as an alliance of community in that area and share knowledge and things like that. So that's really interesting. And they did that thanks to the fragment funding, you know, and Hungary DAO invite everyone and all. And in the end, I think it's really great. It's still a bit early to really assess the impact of all the initiatives, but yeah, I'm quite impressed by the wide spectrum of the initiative. And I guess we forgot one. We forgot one initiative.
Which one?
He's
Tommy and Limo.
Wait, we pay this guy?
Yeah, and Limo too.
Something is wrong with the
I
program.
forgot Limo. Yeah. So that's another benefit of the fragment system, that Limo is finally paid for what he's doing for OpenGov for all those years. And Tommy actually has a really interesting and creative idea, is to make some kind of fictional documentary about someone discovering OpenGov, and let's say slowly flowing or falling into the rabbit hole. At least that's my understanding, and I'm quite excited to see where it's going.
Yeah, it's sort of the direction. Yeah, and the nice thing is the funds that I'm going to use is for the video producer and production of the set and so on, and B-roll, and so there is also this creativity that you can have when you receive project funding and how you're going to use the funds. Good. So then let's have a last round and just look a little bit into the future. What's up next for the ambassador fellowship, and what is your ideal outcome? Where do you see it going?
So we had funding for an initial phase, which ends at the end of Q1. So we will be looking at what we need to keep pushing this forward, because it does require funding in the beginning to set up this framework. You know, you need all the usual stuff. You need social media, you need onboarding, you need rewards and recognition is huge. Like, we're not paying people, but you want to make people feel valued. You want their contributions to be recognised, and we want to shout from the rooftops about what everybody's doing, and, you know, personalised swag, all these sorts of things. So that's the kind of the practical side of it. From the more community-based side, we will look to have the doors open for anybody to join by the end of the year at the latest. It is a large undertaking. We want to get this right, resilient, and that takes time. But we will be working very closely with the ambassadors that we have seeded to help them individually to find their place, to find their sub-community within the fellowship, and to understand what it means to be an ambassador, like you asked earlier. Like, we're understanding what it means for us to be ambassadors. And what we will be doing is handing over, once we get these frameworks in place, we'll, you know, gradually be handing over to we want everyone to be involved now, but gradually handing over the ropes to the rank fours, for example, rather than relying on an advisory board, and looking to bring all of the minds together, just like we did with the manifesto. It was the Polkadot voices.
And just to conclude, what will happen is a new ref with adjustments, because it was a testing phase, and we have new refinement to suggest. So I guess we'll start a new community phase with that ref, and we'll continue to, that great adventure. And thanks everyone for being there.
Good talk. Great.